Thank you very much. I could not imagine a better time to come together and discuss AI for good and act on it. I'm proud and humbled to contribute today. And like the previous speaker, I do believe that we have an incredible set of opportunities, but I also believe we have an incredible set of risks ahead of us. And the show of AI today on stage with this automated description of the speakers is a good indication of where we are. I mean, we're still not where we need to be, obviously. When empowering people turns out to be unpower people, we still have a way to go. At the same time, I think it's obvious that you can easily imagine where this technology could go. And I'm sure that if we want this translation 100% right, we should probably let the computer create the speech. I think this revolution that we are witnessing right now, some call it the fourth industrial revolution. I prefer to call it the digital revolution, because if you call it the fourth industrial revolution, you may believe that it's like the other three revolutions we've had, which was all about scale. This one is dramatically different. I believe this all started right here in Geneva. 1989, the World Wide Web was launched here in Geneva as an infrastructure leveraging the internet and putting a protocol on top of the internet in order to share information among researchers. I don't believe that the design at that time had any imagination what this infrastructure could mean for the development of the world. That same year, a little bit later, in November, the Berlin Wall fell, also here in Europe. And with that, the world kind of became twice as big. Globalization took on a new opportunity to do business everywhere on this planet, almost. And I would argue that these two incidents have propelled significant opportunities for value creation, taking people out of poverty, and creating new and exciting solutions, and is the reason we are here today to discuss AI for good. As a consequence of the technological developments on top of the World Wide Web, R&D investments have never been higher. We've seen investments now that are twice the total budget of NASA, and we know how big an importance the moon talk from J.F. Kennedy had in terms of accelerating technology developments. Now that is good, because it fosters innovation. The Stone Age didn't end because we ran out of stone. It was because we invented better solutions, and I think we have exactly that opportunity. AI is, of course, the technology with the most promises. It is based on the network's availability, so we can connect billions of people and things, the platforms that allow data to be collected, and of course the data itself. AI as such is not a new invention. It has actually been discussed at least 30 years, and I had an AI class when I went to university, but at the time the compute power was not available, nor was the data. Those two problems have been solved now, and therefore we see a spike in investments in AI. The promises are very big, so are the dangers. These are 2016 numbers. I just came home from a trip to China, and Shanghai alone in 2019 have a committed budget of $18 billion alone in AI. The impression I came home with from China was that they are very impressive in what they do, also a bit scary. It is probably the largest pool of data anywhere in the world, and it is, to a large extent, centrally controlled, can do significant things and have significant implications. So what are we using this incredible technology for today? Well, I think we all know some of the examples of how we are using this technology. Some of you will have one of these little speakers at home. Others may have chosen not to. Alexa is a new thing, a speech recognition, some would argue, that can understand your questions, can give you weather forecasts, and can help you sort your shopping list and even do the online shopping for you. Some see it as a speaker that can play music. I see it as a microphone in your home. I asked Alexa the other day, Alexa, do you listen to everything I say in my home? To which Alexa answered, I only listen when you say the keyword Alexa. Then I asked the question, Alexa, how do you know that I said the keyword Alexa? At which point she referred to some legal documents on the internet around privacy. So, now, what are we using this brilliant support for in our homes? Well, first of all, we use it for advertising, so that we don't get bombarded by irrelevant advertising, but it gets accurate to our desires and needs. I'm sure you have all witnessed some of that. We also see a significant influence when it comes to fashion. Here's an example from Instagram. This young lady does not exist, in fact, in reality, even though she is quite beautiful. She is Miguela, a computer-generated influencer. She has 1.5 million followers on the social media, a digital Kardashians, you may argue. And of course, we use this understanding of our preferences also to get focused news. We all have witnessed how information now is focused around our own set of interests, so that we don't have to read other people's opinion about things that we either disagree with or are not interested in. Now, what are all of these examples? Well, if you put it in a different perspective, you could argue that so far, our main solution around AI is to understand individual consumer preferences better, so that we can influence their tastes and their opinions. That is pretty scary. Some would call it manipulation. It is a fundamental business model problem that if your business is to advertise and influence, then you have a business reason to lure information away from consumers and target them more exactly. And if you do that too much, you will end up in a situation where we have a polarized world, where we cannot come together in a meeting like this and try and find a good path forward by listening to different points of view and coming to common solutions. I often say that the most valuable example of use of AI today is the cappuccino cup picture. We take nice pictures of our cappuccino cups so we can share them with our digital friends. We do that in ways where companies create monopolies around the data they collect around your taste. And we concentrate the value coming from those applications on very few hands, and many of those hands do not pay taxes. That, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be the smartest way of using artificial intelligence. At least to me, it looks more like artificial. Now imagine we could use this very powerful technology to solve some real problems. The first question you have to ask yourself is, do we know what the real problems are? And I would say, absolutely. There are 17 of them. For the first time in history, we have a common language around what are the problems that we need to solve as a world. And these are not small problems to solve. They are huge, they are tremendous, but they are all super relevant. If we take a couple of look at some of these, the SDG number 2, zero hunger. We live in a world where food value chains have up to 70% waste, and yet 830 or 21 million people still rise every morning wondering whether they will get enough food today. SDG number 3, good health and well-being. Every day, 10,000 people lose their lives because of lack of relevant health care. SDG number 7, affordable and clean energy. 1 billion people on this planet have no access to energy. In 2030, it is estimated that that number has only been reduced to 700 million people without access to energy. SDG number 10, reduced inequality. In 2018, the 26th richest people on this planet own as much as the 50% of humanity, the poorest 50%. And on SDG number 3, climate change, I believe it is the biggest problem of them all. Without a swift solution from getting everyone together on that, none of the others will really matter. I am a technologist. I have spent more than 25 years in technology, and I am an optimist. I truly believe that with the technologies we have available today, not some futuristic scenario of technology, but if we were to apply the technologies that we have available today in this world, we would be able to find solutions to most of these problems if we can identify the innovators with the right solutions and scale those solutions globally instantly. If we look at energy, I am convinced that with technology, we can create sustainable energy systems. We will see a shift from burning fossil fuels into more renewable energies. The issue with that is that an energy system based on renewable energy is an unpredictable energy system. You do not know when you will get production of energy. So managing these extreme fluctuations in such an energy system requires intelligent infrastructure that can store energy, that can transport energy, that can make prices of energy dependent on supply and demand, and with that even out these extreme unbalances in such a system. At Siemens, we're working on increasing efficiencies of even gas turbines. We're using artificial intelligence to optimize the efficiency so that a lot of the future energy, which will be renewable, wind or sun, will be able to be supported by gas turbines so that we can even out some of the demand and supply fluctuations. Why is this important? Because the need for energy is likely to grow, not be reduced. These are huge investments, and we need collaboration on country level and across many companies. Cities is another big challenge that we need to face. We will see the next 2 billion of people added to this planet. They will all live in cities, mainly in Asia and in Africa. With that, we have an urbanization challenge at our hands, and again, technology that allows for decentralized energy systems, managing of scarce resources like water, optimizing traffic systems, cleaning airs, and creating convenience in otherwise too congested cities will be critical. We already have those solutions available. Transportation is one of the biggest issues, and I'm sure those of you who took the car to come to this place saw some of that, in particular on a rainy day. We can create solutions today. As Siemens has worked on autonomous trains for more than 20 years. The next vehicles will, of course, be autonomous cars. And I will bet with anyone in this room that someone in this room one day will sit with a grandchild on your laps. And the grandchild will look at you with big glary eyes and say, "Grandmother or grandfather, is it really true? Were you driving the cars on your own then? Wasn't that dangerous?" It kind of inspires us to believe that a car with more sensors than human beings have, that learn from a million other cars driving every day, will learn faster than my 19-year-old son. On food, I said we have more than 70% waste in certain value chains. Most of the waste happens from the farm to the shipping port or the place where the food needs to be distributed to consumption. At AP Moller Maersk, we transport 25% of all refrigerated containers in the world. By moving the container to the farm, we can reduce that waste dramatically, and with that, secure enough food for everyone on this planet, also when we add another 2 billion people. All of these examples are based on collecting data from industrial sensors, either in wind turbines, gas turbines, traffic systems, or even from connected, cooled containers. By optimizing the data that we get from those systems, we can manage the infrastructure more efficiently and solve most of the problems that we face today. I call this industrial AI. This is not about luring data from consumers. This is about using data from intelligent things to optimize and solve the problems we have at hand. So if the solutions are all available, what's the problem? Well, one of the problems is what I call the too little, too much problem. If we use the technologies too little to solve the relevant problems, we don't get anywhere. And when we start using the information or the technologies too much, we create problems. We do want to have access to data, but if we use data in irresponsible ways, we lose our privacies. Is that really what we want? We do need digital platforms to collect data in secure ways, but if we do that in the wrong way, we create monopolies. Is that really what we want? And as we pursue autonomous systems and vehicles, we let the thing decide. If we do that too much, we lose control. Is that what we want? My answer is that we cannot let technology lead where this takes us. Technology has unlimited places it could take us. We need to lead technology to the places where we want it to take us. We need to be responsible around use of technology, and we need to have a true north, a compass for which problems we need to solve and how we need to solve them. With that in mind, I believe that we need to come together on 3 preconditions for the use of industrial AI. First of all, it's about focus. Deciding which problems we want to solve so that we can use our R&D spend on relevant problems. It is not the picture of the cappuccino cup. Secondly, we need to make sure that we get the infrastructure necessary for the industrial AI, and 5G plays a major role in making that happen. For 2 reasons alone: the latency, i.e. the speed in which data can be captured, as well as the capacity of 5G. We cannot build industrial AI solutions without the availability of 5G globally. This is a huge challenge, in particular when we begin to fight about whose technology can we actually trust. And thirdly, we do need to share data. Without data, AI is useless. It is namely not intelligent. And we need to find ways where we can share data across geographies so that we can solve the big problems. Healthcare is a great example of that. If we don't share the healthcare data, we cannot save lives. But if we do, we need to do it in a way where we protect the privacy of each single patient. That is possible with current technology. Once we have these 3 prerequisites for AI, we need to design AI systems for industrial AI systems based on, in my mind, 3 very simple principles. First of all, we need a level of trust. We need to make sure that the data is collected in secure ways, in ways where we protect people's privacy and they can believe in that, and in ways where the algorithms can tell how they came to the conclusion. AI is nothing but likelihood calculations. And the AI algorithms need to be able to tell why they came to the likelihood of 92% for a certain decision. If we can't see that, we cannot understand, and therefore we lose control. Most algorithms today can have traceability like that, but some of the machine learning algorithms today are black boxes, unable to explain how they came to a specific decision. This is a challenge we must solve. We need accountability. It was mentioned earlier as well. If your car puts you in an accident because the car has a problem in its design, we know who to call. The OEM. And the OEM will figure out whose supplier was it that made the problem. In the same way, we need to have accountable people for every single system that we put in place based on AI. These are human beings who stand up and say, I am responsible for this system and the recommendations that it makes. We cannot have platforms that say, I'm just a platform. I cannot take responsibility for what happens on my platform. That will kill trust in the technology. And finally, we do need to make sure that as we develop these solutions, we should not use those solutions to replace human beings. We should offload the right kind of jobs from human beings so that we can empower human beings, so that we can enhance human capacity and unleash human potential. These are the principles that I argue for. EU have delivered similar principles in April this year, the OECD as well. It's time we come together, define those principles, and measure existing systems around that. Let me finish by talking briefly about trusted AI. If you look today around AI on the internet, you will see that the word ethical shows up more times than ever before around AI. I guess that's why we are here today. We need to look at the industrial AI as the biggest opportunity. Clearly it is for Europe, but it is for the rest of the world as well. I think it's time for us to accelerate the solutions around the SDGs on industrial level. This is more demanding because security concerns are bigger, privacy concerns are bigger, but the one big advantage you have in industrial AI is that you cannot lure the data away from the device just by offering convenience. The device will know where to put the data. Let me end by saying this is truly a leadership moment. What started in 1989 as a geopolitical opportunity to bring the world together and an internet, World Wide Web, allowing technological advancements, is now broken. The geopolitical dimension is moving backwards, if you ask me. I think the root cause is that people are afraid of the future. We have an unprecedented opportunity to solve the biggest problems on this planet. This is not something to be afraid of if we take a responsible pattern. I am an optimist. I am a concerned optimist. But I do believe that we are lucky to be leaders in times of dramatic change, in times where we can actually solve the biggest problems of this world if we are responsive and fast, responsible, so that the opportunities are there for everyone on this planet and not only the few. We are here to discuss how we can use the most powerful technology in the world to create a better future and unleash human potential. Thank you very much.